Okay, let's say that I'm an advertiser and I have a limited budget to spend putting advertisements into TV and print and radio. Let's say that I spend all of my money on television. I work in television advertising, that's what I do. But now, my friends, my advertising friends, they come to me and they tell me, hey, you gotta check out this YouTube thing. The millennials, they love it. You gotta put some stuff there. And I'm like, well, maybe this could be a cool opportunity. I'm gonna take some of my limited TV budget and I'm gonna put it into YouTube. That's what's happening at like the structural level in advertising right now. YouTube is competing for the same ad budget that TV is competing for. There was 114% growth in digital video streaming advertising spending from 2014 to 2015, and it's expected to grow very much in the next couple of years. That's the way in which that YouTube is competing with television. The content doesn't really matter. That's kind of the point of the word content. Now what's interesting is that YouTube was sort of the only one to be doing that for user-generated content at any like real scale until 2016. This year Amazon has introduced Amazon Video Direct, a new video platform that is supposedly a YouTube competitor in the sense that it's competing for the same ad dollars as YouTube. Twitter also just announced its video revenue sharing program. It's going to have a 70-30 split, which is favorable compared to YouTube's 55-45 split. And the Wall Street Journal reported a year ago that Facebook had its own revenue sharing program in the works. After a decade of doing all the heavy lifting, YouTube now has to face more competition than ever. There's another challenge for YouTube right now, which is that the highest levels of creators, they rely less and less on advertising. Ad revenue represents a proportionally like smaller chunk of the total money that YouTubers are making, because they're moving on to things like branded content, merch sales, affiliate revenue, book deals, live events, all this stuff, right? These are all solutions that people have come up with to solve this problem of really cheap YouTube advertising. CPMs, the cost per 1,000 ads, if that hovers in the like sub $5 range, even with huge audiences, that sometimes will not make rent. So for the people who are like really doing it right, the kinds of creators who like own their own production companies and agencies and things like this, the goal is to graduate out of ad dependency. It's not what you have to do, right? But audiences are fickle, the curation algorithm on YouTube can change. The less you rely on these unstable factors, the more secure your business will be in the long run. So as a result of all these new revenue sources, because YouTubers are relying less and less on ad revenue, at least at the highest levels, YouTube has to work harder to provide more value to those kinds of creators. If YouTube can raise its ad prices and provide more value, those types of creators will be less likely to float away to these new competitors that YouTube is dealing with right now. I think this is important for the conversations we've been having about YouTube's shift towards ad-friendliness as like the explicit language it uses to define why it's imposing content restrictions for monetization. There are a lot of reasons why YouTube advertising is cheap. So if I'm a TV advertiser and I have to go out and pick which time slot I want on TV, the thing that I'm focusing on most is actually the content, not the data, because the data doesn't really help me all that much. There are no reliable metrics for television viewership. The way that it's measured is by this company called Nielsen, and basically they have, there's these things called Nielsen homes, or Nielsen families, and they're just houses where like you log whatever you watch, and you write it down in a journal. And those houses represent 0.1% of all TV households, and all like data about TV viewership is extrapolated from those journals. And none of it's live. It's just so funny to me how like near useless that is. But if I know that my ad is going to appear next to like the Super Bowl or the season finale of Game of Thrones or something big like that you know people are going to be caring about stuff and paying attention, that is how you figure out where to put your ad, more based on the content. Whereas YouTube, it's about the audience itself. YouTube has so much data about everyone. They know exactly who has watched something and for how long. The same analytics that we use to analyze our videos are used by advertisers to measure the effectiveness of their ads. You ask YouTube, hey, I would like to target this demographic, here's how much money I'm willing to spend, please work it out. And you might appear in front of anybody's content, right? You just don't know. It could be in front of my video, your video, a cat video, a fail video, or like an anti-SJW like rant channel, you know? And that uncertainty that doesn't make advertisers happy. The kinds of people who are used to paying for ads based on the content that surrounds it are not entirely comfortable with this uncertainty. So, as a result, advertising is cheap. They're not willing to pay as much as they would be for television. On TV, the average CPM is like $45, around there. On YouTube, it's like in like less than $5. The goal is to make advertisers more trusting and therefore willing to pay more, so that creators will be more likely to stay in the long term in the context of all these competing platforms popping up. I think it's really useful to understand these nesting structures of like ad economies, like on the YouTube scale, on the like multi-platform scale, and then on the multimedia scale. Because it's these like macro level forces that are going to determine the long-term success of these platforms and our businesses as creative workers. I hope that this video has like helped to paint that picture. If you got any questions, put them below. Subscribe for more. Bye.
Now, a lot of people at this point wonder, well, what does numbers have to do with an artistic experience? I mean, we're talking about feeling and grooves, and you're talking about the square root of pi or something, right?
Right, yeah.
But if you think about it a second,